What is up? I am your host, Zoe. This is episode 5 on growing up in dysfunction / Al-Anon on the Mind on Recovery podcast. And I have a gas bubble in my abdomen that won't quit. But anyway, my guest is Miss D, as I call her. Her name is actually Deneice. And she is one of my older friends in recovery. And I only say older because she has a wealth of wisdom and knowledge that's afforded to one that makes it that far in life. So it's not a negative thing. I don't say that as a negative. It's absolutely a positive and something that should be celebrated more often, I think. But anyway, I think it helps us with this episode's topic. And the lady can tell a story or two. I don't know why I never knew this before we recorded this podcast, but yeah, some interesting stuff in there. I hope you enjoy it. Without further ado, here is episode 5 with Miss D on the Mind on Recovery podcast. I'm your host, Zoe, and I'm here with my guest star for the week, I call her Miss D, also known as Deneice.
Yay! Hi, Zoe.
How you doing?
Good.
Good. I've been at Miss D's house for a minute. We just had brunch, or I had brunch. She made brunch,
Yes.
and it was off the hook. But before we get into our topic of the day, which is gonna kind of be a mix of things, all right? Let's hit a positive news story. All right, so I found one, just to keep it short and sweet. This one has to do with COVID, but not in a way that one might think automatically. And if this advertisement will get off my phone, okay. Luxury Mexican hotel chain Velas Resorts thanks 100 healthcare heroes with all-inclusive vacations. Boom.
That's wonderful.
Right. It reads, these days, heroes come with face masks instead of capes, but a luxury resort chain in Mexico has rewarded 100 healthcare superheroes with free spa vacations to say thank you for their great hearts during the worldwide pandemic.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is. During April, the public voted for their favorite stories among 350 nominations, choosing who would get the chance to for an all-inclusive stay of 4 days and 3 nights with food and drinks prepared by its premier chefs and restaurants. Yeah, that's
That's a very good thing.
right.
Anybody that works in the industry out there, I feel, needs to always be praised. I don't think we praise them enough.
Right. Them along with teachers, along with our civil servants. Absolutely. And I'm glad a corporation at that was able to do something.
Yeah, give up their money to help somebody else.
Instead of worrying about the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's all about the bottom line. All right, that was our positive news story, and just one story because I want to give these topics their proper breathing room, because generally we're talking about Al-Anon, what that is, but from that I kind of also wanted to go into generational trauma, also called intergenerational trauma, and just growing up in dysfunction and what that comes with. So first, we're gonna give our definition. Well, not our definition, but the definition of Al-Anon. Al-Anon is a worldwide fellowship founded in 1951. That offers a program of recovery for the families and friends of alcoholics, whether or not the alcoholic recognizes the existence of a drinking problem or seeks help. They also have Al-Teen. I don't know if you knew. That is a part of the Al-Anon fellowship designed for the younger relatives and friends of alcoholics through the teen years. So that was from Wikipedia, Al-Anon. I've always heard Al-Anon while I've been in the rooms, but I've never went to an actual meeting yet. I want to go.
Well, I went to a few, and they're very helpful for me because going to AA meetings helps me identify what's happening with me, but going to Al-Anon helps me deal with all the alcohol that was in my family growing up.
Yeah.
So that and it makes me understand more about me and the choices that I make.
That's a good point. I like how you contrasted the two, AA versus Al-Anon. Um, okay, that was Al-Anon, and now I'm a trip on this word the entire episode. Intergenerational trauma. This definition, also called transgenerational trauma, is a psychological term which asserts that trauma can be transferred in between generations. After a first generation of survivors experience trauma, they are able to transfer their trauma to their children and further generations of offspring via complex post traumatic stress disorder mechanisms. This field of research is relatively young but has expanded in recent years. Critics describe the concept of biologically inherited trauma as implausible or non existent since no mechanism for a process has been identified, that the studies which claim to support it rely on small samples and flawed method, methodology. Okay, so that was a lot. The last one, the critics, they were kind of poo-pooing on the biologically inherited trauma, but I don't know. To me, it's not. I wasn't even thinking about the biologically inherited trauma. Like, oh, my grandma had anxiety, now my mom has anxiety. Like, we got it through our genetics. I was thinking it more of it like, and this is purely example. My grandmother had anxiety and didn't know what to do with it. She transferred, and then from that, my mom watched my grandmother not knowing how to deal with that anxiety, and then boom, I watched my mom not know how to deal with, and
Yes.
like, rather than it just being in my blood.
Yes.
Did what?
But I do believe that alcoholism is related in your blood, or they wouldn't take blood tests to see if you have genes.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done on that.
I mean, there's still a lot of skepticism on that.
Hold that thought. We're going to get more into that when we come back. As we come back, we're going to go a little bit deeper into our own personal experiences with intergenerational trauma and all that good stuff. Stay tuned. Hello, me again. If you would like more info on Al-Anon or Al-Teen, the program for teenagers, please visit their website. They do have one, and they have a plethora of information that we couldn't even begin to fully cover in this episode. So yeah, check it out. Thanks. All right, and we're back to the Mind on Recovery podcast. I am here with my guest, Ms. D, also known as Deneice, and we're talking about intergenerational trauma or just growing up in dysfunction. Okay, so I'll go with my personal experiences first. Dealing with intergenerational trauma. I don't know, without going too deep, I'm trying to see where that big phrase or that big term fits with my family. Seeing different uncles and aunts having their addiction issues. That's because I don't know how my grandparents' generation dealt with alcoholism and drug addiction. I don't know if it was even as prevalent back then on a small little island in the Pacific, South Pacific.
Sure.
But I know with my mom's generation, the one above me, it seemed as if they didn't know exactly what to do, or maybe there wasn't treatments available for them that there are for us right now. My earliest memories of alcohol and drugs in the family was definitely my grandparents telling my uncle, you drink too much, you need to stop drinking, that whole thing over and over again. But I was a kid, so I really didn't put too much into it until later. But that was the earliest thing I could remember. And then as time progressed, I got older, they got older, their addictions got worse, bodies started breaking down. And yeah, we've seen the toll from that. But it seemed like they weren't looking for help. kind of like you were saying earlier about choice. It seemed like they were perfectly, maybe not perfectly, but they were content in the choices that they made, that they were going to drink every single day.
Because they didn't feel it was a problem.
Yeah.
See, when you don't know what you're doing is a problem and it's familiar everywhere that you are,
Right.
it's kind of hard to get help.
Right. Maybe you're not seeing how much it's affecting their kids, my cousins, or their parents, my grandparents, great aunts. Yeah, it just seemed like they were perfectly content with just using every day, like it was okay.
Well, that's a true addict because they don't feel like they're doing nothing wrong. They don't feel like they're hurting anybody, and they don't feel like they have a problem. So,
Why stop?
the more somebody mentions that they have a problem, the more they defy it.
Yeah.
And it's sad, but once again, decisions. You have to make that decision,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
especially if you have children, because things are generational, and you have to not be selfish enough to ask yourself, what is your child saying, and what is he going to think is normal?
Right. Because now my cousin is also who's like a few years younger than me. He's also very much into the drugs and getting high, and I can only guess that he's just gathered that from watching his father all those years. And then for his father, my uncle, to tragically pass away from it, like having their liver shut down or something to that effect. Yeah, that was just like a kick in the gut. So going back to what you were saying, like my cousin seeing that this must be normal activity.
Yes, he doesn't see it that way.
Right.
If the death of his father
Yeah.
didn't give him like a wake-up call,
Right.
nobody should have had to say anything. He knew the cause of death, and he knew what he was doing. A normal person would get scared
Yeah.
and change their ways, or at least ask for help because they're scared. They don't want to die, and they're doing the same thing. But a child that's grown up in a home
Yes.
where it's perfectly normal, and in some days, I'd say in the last 10, 15 years, I've been hearing horrific stories where parents get high with their kids.
Oh yeah.
So if you think that's normal, you're not going to stop, and I wish your cousin, the best in realizing it, but it's going to take a break in the chain, as they say.
Yes, breaking the chain, breaking the cycle, doing something different than what's just been happening over generations. But yeah, that's the closest I got to it. Just going to my grandparents over the summers or winter breaks, and seeing my uncles and aunts. Back in my own home with my mom, just living with my mom, single parent, I didn't see it. She just smoked cigarettes. So I felt lucky in that regard that I didn't have to see addiction on a daily basis, or at least severe addiction like that. But there's other things that can be passed down, though, also. That's not just addiction, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Let's switch over to you. What's your earliest memories of alcohol and drugs as it relates to family, like seeing it in the family?
I think I was a good 5 or 6 years old when I really realized it. Me and my sisters, we would pick up after my mom's parties and stuff like that, and we were happy that they had alcohol. Everybody was happy. We have a large family. They got together every Sunday to eat at my grandmother's.
Yeah.
They got together. They made up holidays. Okay, so that when I was young, that was the one thing that I knew I wanted to do, is drink
And party.
because that's what my family did.
All right.
So in early memories, I was like, not thinking I can't wait, but I knew that was a good thing.
Yeah.
Because everybody got happy.
Yes. Even artificially so, but we didn't know it was artificial.
No.
So artificial back then. Yes.
But I did realize whatever comes in those bottles made my mother and my uncles and my aunts very happy.
Right. And that's got to be. Yeah, that's got to be real strong, powerful connection for a kid to make, to see that over and over and over and over, like that bottle means something.
They made up parties. They always had parties.
Yeah.
And the older I got, the more that we cleaned up after them, we'd mix drinks together that were left over and we'd drink them.
Right.
And we would sit there and like, we're finally doing it. We're doing what they're doing. And it was, it's horrifying now, but it was amazing then that we thought we were doing a good thing.
Right.
So
How were family members of yours treated or looked at? The ones who used or drank heavily, like, well, it might have been a majority of your family members, but was there that one that just like always was effing up or
yeah,
spilling something?
I think there's always that one, and
Yeah.
my uncle Bertram stands out because he went as a student ambassador from University of San Jose to Africa for 2 years. He's smart. He was made all kinds of art that he sold, but when he drank,
Yeah.
he was ridiculous. There's times my aunts go, if he's gonna be there, I'm not coming, because he just gets, belligerent.
Right.
And it made me feel bad for him, and I always still didn't think it was a problem. I just felt like he drank too much, that he doesn't know when to stop.
Yeah.
Because everybody else was still happy. And besides my Aunt Loretta, there's 11 kids in my mom's family, and all of them drank.
Right.
My grandfather would drink Drambuie after dinners, but he didn't drink. He wasn't a daily drinker.
So it was just this one uncle who just did a little bit more than everybody else.
That's especially when I was about 14, I couldn't figure out if Uncle Bertram just drank a little bit more than everybody did, and that's what made him that way. Or maybe he needed a different alcohol. I thought of that,
You were really trying to like figure it out for him.
Yeah,
like,
because, he upset the family.
Yeah, you're like, he is on some other shit.
I mean, there were family occasions and stuff that he wasn't invited to. And he'd call, he goes, Deneice, why didn't you call and tell me that this was going on? I said, I don't know. And my younger sister, we used to call her Truth. She told the truth about everything.
Yeah.
She goes, Grandpa didn't want you there. And so I felt sad for him. So he kind of became my favorite. And I think until I was like 16, I was determined. I bought him bottles of alcohol when I was 16 through 18, trying to find something that he could drink and be a regular person. But the way alcohol affected him, that was never going to happen.
It's crazy. So he was kind of like outcast, kind of black sheep
from
for that.
From a super close family. It's like my grandmother invented the house. She's all, my son is coming, but everybody was like, okay, don't drink. And then they started bringing ice chests with their own beers in it and stuff, and then they'd count them and tell him he'd have to bring his own, and he was doing good until hard alcohol.
Yeah.
When he came back from Africa, hard alcohol was his thing, and he scared me when he drank that. He became not just falling down and a drunk that got on everybody's nerves. He became scary.
Yeah, like dangerous.
Yeah.
Were there any specific family members that you looked up to or idolized that were maybe, well, kind of like you just mentioned, doing too much or outcast or black sheep or just very friendly with alcohol and drugs? Is there anyone that you like really looked up to?
I looked up to all of my uncles. My other 3 uncles were successful, and they, I guess you would say, maintained their addiction and their drinking. And I looked up to them because, wow, it was like selling drugs gets you a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
So I looked up to them, but I think I looked up to Bertram the most because I felt like he was an outcast.
Underdog.
Yes, and I wanted to help him because I loved him. You
Right.
know.
That's crazy. I remember my mom asking me when I was in grade school who my favorite uncle was, or I think I maybe just told her who my favorite uncle was. And then she made sure to be like, okay, well, just don't drink like him or something to that effect. Just
Yes.
don't. You can want to be like your uncle and love your uncle and all that good stuff, but don't pick up all these habits. But I thought he was the coolest. I still think he's one of the coolest people on earth. Um, that just happened to have a drinking problem.
Yes.
Yeah, and other mental health issues on top of that. Um, I don't want to get too broad in this one episode, but there's just like, we're focusing on addiction and alcoholism right now, but there's also a whole other disarray of things that are layered on top of the addiction piece that are intersecting with the addiction piece, race, um, socioeconomic backgrounds, poverty, other mental health issues. My uncle that I was just talking about, he also had diagnosed with bipolar and schizophrenia on top of addiction. So it was just, we don't have enough time in the episode, but I just want to throw that out there that there's a whole lot more factors
Yes,
at
I
play.
believe mental health is a lot of the factor, and we're gonna go back to what the
Yeah.
program's about. But I definitely believe mental health is a lot of it.
And I don't want to throw your exact age on blast, but just to give the viewers some idea of when we're talking about your uncle and your family, like we're talking back
Yes,
decades where it wasn't as not racist.
exactly. I was born in 1955,
Thank
so
you.
I'm 65. So we're talking. My uncles were grown men, and of course, if my family was drinking, they were over 21. And so, if I'm around 7 or 8, when I start seeing these things, that was a generation that didn't show a lot of. There wasn't a lot of prejudice. There wasn't.
You said born in 55, it wouldn't be another whole decade till like Martin Luther King came out with the civil rights movement and
Yes,
stuff like
I
that.
was lucky to have met him, and that was definitely around that time.
Yeah. So just a lot of factors at play um, with the intergenerational trauma aspect. Just a lot of, I don't know, pain, a lot of unworked through stuff that just got passed down and passed down. Uh,
Yes,
another,
I believe because of the fact that I thought alcohol was cool, and the result of my own alcoholism has caused my children. My children will never drink. My grandchildren will never drink or do drugs either because of what they've seen from me and their mom. It's just something I knew that they were never going to grow up and do. They're the ones that broke the chain.
that's good. That's good.
And they're all in college. They're all work orientated. And it's amazing. Now my whole family's that way and has been for quite some years. But it's like, nope, they don't want to smoke. They don't want to drink.
Yeah.
And that's good. I'm sorry that my disease scared them into that choice.
Yeah, it's probably a long time coming.
Yeah.
Like you said with your other Uncle Birch and
Yeah, okay. So I didn't even recognize that I had a problem because I thought it was normal too until I was 64. I never even tried to get sober until I was 64.
right.
So it's like anybody can do it at any age, but I didn't realize it was a problem. So I didn't realize like my grandkids and kids had grown up to a point where they knew the difference,
Yeah.
and I wasn't fooling them anymore.
While you're on that, is there or could you list some like maybe some norms or some normal behaviors used in your family back then when you were a child that maybe wouldn't be okay now?
Like what I started off with when I was saying I was first around alcohol, having parties with young kids.
Yes.
And having it where glasses are left on the table overnight. And
That would be child abuse today.
oh yes,
Have smoking
definitely.
with your kids.
And you could have your children even possibly taken away, or where the state watches you. Another thing I wouldn't do is take my kids to any babysitter because I want to go somewhere. I think if I had my kid today, it would have to be a family member or somebody I know.
Yeah.
But just anybody on the block was cool because they knew them. But us kids didn't always feel comfortable going there.
Right.
So that's something definitely I wouldn't do today. And I really believe that all alcohol and drugs that I've seen and it being made to be normal to me, I think that today I wouldn't talk about it or try to get my kids or grandkids not to do it, or my great grandchild that's coming. I would just change my thought of thinking because they don't think that way. They've broken the chain. They don't think that way. So I think that today I would definitely do that different. And the other thing that really used to, I thought was normal, which isn't, is adults smoking marijuana in the car while you're in the car. My uncles never really thought it was a bad thing.
Yeah.
And I never felt like I got high or thought it was a bad thing. But
Oh, like smoking while you were in the car.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like, today that's something that's just definitely not a norm. It's a lot of things that I even did with my own children are things I wouldn't do today.
Yeah.
Because and it wasn't I didn't have the knowledge, I made a selfish decision to do it anyway.
I haven't had any experience personally with Al-Anon. Like I said, I really want to go to a meeting. It's been on my to-do list for a while now. Have you had any experience with Al-Anon?
Yes, like I said earlier, I went to a few meetings while I was able to get out to meetings. What I like about Al-Anon, like I said, it helps me as an addict see where the addiction comes from. It lets me see, especially they deal with generational things in Al-Anon, and basically they help you see that it may even skip a generation, but or you may be in the next generation, but you were one that didn't drink.
Right.
And there's a lot of people I've seen there to help their sisters, their mothers, their brothers, and they go there a lot to get information on how to help them.
Yes, I think they have steps too.
Yes, they do. They have a step book and what you use, and that's for your own self-healing.
Right.
And they also offer the Seeking Safety class, and it's not for people that are being abused. It's showing you how to deal with the addict that you live with or the alcoholic and not allowing them to abuse you with their words and different things, because it affects
the whole family
big time. And so I like hearing the stories that they share.
Yeah.
There's so many frustrated people out there, and so many people out there that are loved by so many people, and they just don't know that they're fighting for them.
Yeah.
That's Al-Anon. It's about fighting for families.
Yeah.
AA is about fighting for yourself.
There you go. Boom. Oh, I love it. I love it. Okay. Yeah. Lastly, before we take our last break and start wrapping up, that was one of the main things I remember from the Knowles, hearing them say is addiction is a family disease, and say what you want on whether if you think it's a disease or not. You can't discount the fact that this thing affects so many people in one person's life, especially if you live with that person that is struggling with this. Oh my God, it could just take down a whole damn house.
It could take down a family structure, it could take down a financial structure, and it could actually, I believe a lot of the spouses that I've communicated with, they feel like they're losing their mind, that there is no hope. But these women are strong. I have never seen, I go, well, you've done all you can do. And Carolyn, this one lady that I text with back and forth from the meeting, she says, I can't give up on him. Yeah. Because, I just have to keep being there. And she goes, I'm doing it for my children so I can explain to my children what's going on. They're not old enough to go to Al-Anon because they do have that, but they're not old enough for that. But she says I'm getting all the knowledge that they give me and giving it to my kids so they don't feel hurt when they're yelled at. They don't feel these things.
Going back to her giving her kids all that knowledge so they don't feel a certain way when she might act a certain way. Also so that they can eventually grow up to break or stop that cycle.
Yes.
To just like say, oh, I know what this is. Like when they're adults, oh, I know what this is, and now I know how to deal with this in a healthy way.
That's why Al-Anon Teen is so strong.
Yeah.
These kids are like their own foundation. They found each other, and just kind of like addicts do. There's somebody like me, and they want to stop their father or mother or cousin, and they don't know how to either. But before they get 18, 21, where they're able to do things like that, before their minds are more developed, they're catching them at 13. I believe it's 13 to 18 that you can go to Al-Anon, and it's a perfect age to help them break that cycle.
Right.
Mom's taking us here, so we don't have to be like dad.
Yeah. When we come back, we are going to do a quick Q&A, hit some gratitude, and wrap it on out. Hey, it's your host Zoe again. If you know someone that's struggling with substance abuse disorder and or alcoholism and you need help, you need answers on how to figure things out, break codependency ties, etc., please check out Al-Anon, Al-Anon, A-L-N-O-N. They also have a group for teens, so if you know someone that's under 18 that is dealing with an addict in the home or something like that, and they might need help, they might need answers, please check out Al-Anon. Thanks. All right, and we're back for the last act of our episode today. So, Q&A, I only have one, but it asks, how would each of you say that you're breaking the cycle in your own family patterns today? You want to go first? How would each of you say you're breaking the cycle in your own family?
I think first, mine just by seeking help. Nobody in my family has ever sought help.
Oh, you took mine.
For their alcoholism or their drug problem.
Yeah.
So, yes, seeking help, and I don't know how to put it. There's a word I'm looking for.
Seeking help, taking the help, actually accepting the
yes,
help.
There you go. So you have to seek the help, you have to learn to accept help, and you've got to make decisions that make you different. Okay, you've got to make new decisions. You have to find spirituality in your life in order to have help making these decisions. And I believe that I broke that cycle when I went to a rehab, and by going to a program, staying on the program. No one in my family has ever done that. Yeah. They are proud of me. Some of them are still like, I don't know why you feel you had to go. You didn't drink that much to me. Oh. So, yeah. So it's like, I'm sorry, I see something wrong in the way that you think. I'm trying to break a cycle. Like I said, my kids and my grandkids already have. And I believe that I want to be a good great grandmother, and I think I have to break the cycle of the way I think and what's going on, because I need to do something in someone else's life.
Right. Love it. So you took my first one. Yes. Actually looking for help. Mm-hmm. At least in my immediate family, no, I don't know of anybody else that went to an actual rehab or inpatient rehab or even outpatient. I don't know of them. They might be there, I got family everywhere, but the ones at least in the Bay Area, I think I'm the first. And as far as uncles and aunts. And then like you said, actually accepting the help. It's one thing to look for it, do some Google searches. It's another to actually let go of the steering wheel and follow directions from, complete strangers at times. Uh, breaking the cycle. So yeah, looked for help, accepted the help, and I want to do one more. Um, God, they kind of all mirror yours, just by doing things different. Um, as much as I love and idolize my uncles and aunts, a lot of them, the majority of them, who had drug and alcohol issues and aren't here anymore. Um, I now know that I cannot follow their footsteps exactly, because if I do, I'm going to die just like they did. So I'm like tasking myself with, ooh, how do I still honor their memory and have them with me? Uh, because they're all very outgoing and I'm really not. So I'm like, how do I have that little bit of spunk in me um, without having to resort to a freaking tall can? That's like my new challenge, honoring their memory, but also forging a whole new path that hasn't been done before.
Well, you can honor their memory best, I think, is by staying sober,
Huh.
doing something that they couldn't do.
Yeah.
They didn't have the power or the knowledge or the help to do it.
Yeah.
And I think with you doing all those things, that's the best honoring of them that you could do.
Okay, that was our Q&A segment, and now let's move on to gratitude as we well, is there anything lastly that you wanted to speak on before we move on to gratitude?
No, I think that we both feel a lot about the subject the same.
Yes.
We both had a lot of same feelings, and I hopefully they understand what we're trying to portray, and maybe people will look at their lives and see if there's anything that's consistent like a chain.
That they could change, improve on. Absolutely. Gratitude. I'll take it first. One thing I'm grateful for today. Um
And you wanted to be first.
I know. That's why I've been asking you to go first this whole episode.
And
That's
you're
why
afraid I'm going to say what you're going to say.
Yeah, I don't even. I've been saying damn near the same thing for the last, the whole season. One thing I am grateful for today, life.
All right.
Just life, being alive. The life that I have right now, though not perfect, though not maybe exactly where I want to be, I'm damn grateful that I at least have it to try. That's why.
Very good.
Miss D, what's one thing you're grateful for?
And one thing I'm grateful for is actually AA, because it saved my life. I found spirituality. I found joy. Watching the 8th step promises, the 9th step promises just come true for you.
Yeah.
I was in a place where I didn't see any of that coming true. And if it hadn't have been for AA, it's not just for my sobriety. It's the program makes me, I feel like I have a tribe of people to help me. And if they don't see you for a minute, they'll call you and ask you if you're okay. Somebody cares about what you're doing. So that's what I'm grateful for. Because they're the best. If you want to seek help, it's the best place to go.
There you go. And that wraps up our episode number 5 on growing up in dysfunction and Al-Anon. Miss D, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yay! And we're out. See you guys next week. 2 weeks. See you guys in 2 weeks. Peace. And that was our episode number 5 with the lovely Miss D on growing up in dysfunction and Al-Anon. I hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got something from it. Hope you related to it at least on some level. And more than anything, I hope you join us in 2 weeks for episode 6, where I will be joined by one of my good friends that I haven't seen in forever, where we will discuss sex and sexuality in recovery. So bring your popcorn, bring your crystals, and meet us there in 2 weeks. All right, have a lovely, 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 lovely week. I will see you guys later. Peace.